Again, we greatly appreciate people from all over the world, but the folks here making the effort and feeling called to join us. And that's what I've always loved. I've always said to you, don't like what we do here and then go and tell your relatives, which is a weird thing to say to people. Don't tell anybody about us. It's a weird PR, isn't it? We want people to feel it. If they feel it, if there's something they feel and they feel called to us, great. Tell them, watch this if that's what they're feeling. But, don't convert anybody to anything. Don't tell people they ought to try this because you think they might like it. There's this beautiful presence, and if you can feel that presence and you know people that could also resonate with that, great. Tell folks about it. But typically, groups, spiritual centers, religions, they grow by grabbing numbers of people. I do the opposite. My own personal mailing list, meaning personal, I have none, but it's my professional mailing list. As Michael Mirdad, a teacher and all that, I delete hundreds and sometimes thousands of people per year. I'm so happy about that. I don't look for how much I've grown. There's companies out there that we would like you to be a speaker at our conference, but we want all our speakers to have 10,000 people. I don't want 10,000 people. I'd rather have 5 that actually listen, than 10,000 that don't. So I believe this. I believe we're all going to be continually called upon by the universe to refine our lives, to develop quality instead of quantity. The world loves the opposite. It loves the opposite in everything. But it's just, there's no way the world's going to continue as it's been. And you and I are being called not just to big spiritual endeavors, but also to clean up our world, our life. Relations that aren't working, just to trim things back, and mailing lists, and let them go. Let things go that don't seem to matter. And as I'm talking, I have to pause for a second, because usually when I'm talking an inspiration of a topic, it'll just start happening. But there's something kind of an aside that's happening. So I'm going to just say this as quickly as I can, and then onward to the service for the talk for today. Someone's got a sibling that's considering suicide. And it might be more than one of you. Because I think what I'm hearing is that, and I don't typically try to do something fancy like this, or reading on stage. I really don't. I don't know that I've ever done it. And if ever, it's once or twice in all my years. But somebody's got a sibling that's kind of at that edge. And so what I want to say is that, it's totally understandable. This world is crazy. And so I want to make it clear, any of you that are watching that have a sibling that has done this or is considering doing it, it's very important that you understand you're standing as a surrogate for them right now by watching this, okay? And I'll be as brief as possible. But we're telling them, picturing them standing up here, we're telling all of such people, siblings, and maybe we've had these thoughts and feelings too, but the sibling archetype. We totally understand why you would consider such a thing. It's still unacceptable, but not because of how you're feeling. How you're feeling makes it understandable. But it's unacceptable, meaning to who you really are. If you're considering such a thing, it's because you've forgotten who you are. Is that bad? No. It's just learning the hard way. But I, as your sibling, am going to choose right now, with myself and everyone else here, I'm going to choose right now to say no. Understandable, yes. Acceptable, not to your real self. It's unacceptable. To your real self, you're fine. And I'm sorry that you forgot who you are. And I'm sorry that weighs so heavily on you. In a crazy world, you're not crazy. You're just waking up. You, my sibling, this pain is coming from the contrast of this world being so crazy. So just making sure that we're extending absolute love. So for a quick second, all of us, not one person who has a sibling, all of us who have had or do have sibling that is maybe a lot of heavy stuff weighing on them. Just imagining them up here and everybody from around the world flooding them, not with pity and sympathy, with knowingness. Our hearts have compassion. We know what you must be dealing with. But our knowingness is standing on your behalf to say, there's another part of you that's way beyond such a thing. We're just asking you, can you step into that? We're already holding that vision of you stepping into it. But you have to decide whether you want to step into that. And if you do, your lungs will go and your chest will go and your back will go from grief to wings. Any other alternative, giving up, it doesn't work. It will not bring you what you think it'll bring you. But what you want, really want, we're offering you. And we're holding a vision that you're accepting it. And you will, now or in the future, you will accept this. And so it is. Thank you for letting me share that, for whatever reason it was. You know, despite the way the world seems, we have the right and we have complete power to stand in a place of what I would call a miracle consciousness, meaning Christ consciousness or mastery consciousness, any term that feels right for you. We all have the right to access that higher, better self. But there's some really strange things, and I can see already how this, where I'm going with this talk, is connected partly to the sibling thing I was just picking up on. And I swear, usually I don't spend time with a service of people from all around the world because there might be somebody with a sibling, but I don't think it's just somebody. I think there's something going on amongst our siblings, whether it's bringing healing to family, and it feels more than that. It feels very specific about a darkness that some of our siblings might be feeling. But I wouldn't typically do that. I can only remember vaguely, maybe a couple of times during a service where I was talking, suddenly I'd go, "Did you know you're pregnant?" You know, but I stopped doing that. Especially if their partner was in the room. No. I did do that, a couple times where I'd say, "Did you know you're pregnant?" And it's because they're just, I remember one time, now it's coming back. I remember one time where I was doing a talk and the being was floating above the mom. And I just kept, okay, so I'll look this way and talking. And I could see it, so I'm like, what? So I said, all right, fine. Did you know you're pregnant? And she said, oh my God, I just found out. So it was kind of fun. But usually I wouldn't segue, a one person's thing to a whole audience like that. So I appreciate your patience with that having happened. But it overlaps to the talk itself. If we think about the contrast between what do we really want? Peace, the presence of God. Really, I swear that's what we want. If I were to stand here and say, all right, I'm going to grant 10 wishes. Everybody, name what you want. I want my new car. I want my new job. There's anything you could ask for behind it. You want the source of it, not the it. Believe it or not. Seek first the kingdom, the consciousness of heaven, and you'll have everything else. Oh yeah, that, okay, fine, whatever. This is one of those spiritual places, isn't it? So I have to pretend I'm okay with that. Even though I want a car, just a little inner peace would be fine. No, the consciousness of God. In God, there is no lack. So if you have the consciousness of God, how could you not get the raise at work that you think you really need? You have no needs. You would like a raise at work, but really what your heart desires is the presence of God. That's all. And I say that's all, not because it's little, it's everything. So when I have the consciousness of God, suddenly I realize, what about those moments I don't seem to have it? That's what the word forgiveness means. So there's only the consciousness of God, then there's a barrier of things we haven't forgiven, which we apply forgiveness to, and then behind that we're talking about the stuff we think we want. Oh, I want a partnership. Oh, where's my life mate? Go for the consciousness of God. How do I get there? The forgiveness is on the barrier between you and the consciousness of God. That's why Jesus is saying in A Course in Miracles, what is it you want? Happiness? Forgiveness offers it. What else? Health? Forgiveness offers it. But people act like, well, I want a fancier thing. I've already heard about forgiveness. You will never, never exit this world properly and never ascend, never get to the other side with oneness with God without forgiveness. So if the word forgiveness is getting old for anybody, I would recommend that you forgive yourself for that too. Because you're really missing something when you think forgiveness is an old school teaching. So, human beings mess up a lot of things. And one of them is that's just one of them. Forgiveness is no exception. But what we've done, some of us, if you're in the spiritual community, if you're interested on the spiritual path, a lot of us, most everybody interested in spirituality, I'm not talking about religion alone, spirituality, we have done religion in the past and it didn't work. No offense to religion for people that are there and it seems to be working, or they think it is, which is great. Religion is a good foundation for some people that need foundational work. It's true. God, if you take some person and go, you're brand new to the world and you're just starting to have an interest in God, let's just launch you into ascension conversations. They're just going to become like, Libran with Pisces in 15 areas of their chart, like floating around. Foundation. Religion is okay. It's good foundation. But there's a point where you and I have done that. Most everybody that's this deep into the spiritual community, we've done religion. Many of us have been nuns and priests and so on. Believe me or not, I'm just telling you, that's true. You've worked in temples, yoga centers, somewhere. You've done some amount of devotionalism. Great. That's beautiful. You know how it serves? Foundation. It's nice to know what it means to have foundation, like devotion to God, instead of just kind of abstract. It's great. So that served. But at some point, you and I said, but there's something not, quite working for me. I want to launch. Now I have my foundation, but I want to go. I want to expand my consciousness further into experiential with God, not words, not just reciting things. And definitely, guys, the past life stuff brought us in with vows. Tell me that hasn't messed anybody up. It's like, vows of celibacy. Oh, that's always going to work. 5 lifetimes later, we're still like, vows of poverty. Oh, that's just wonderful. Now you have people walking around with guilt and these subconscious patterns of I don't deserve. So part of what I'm getting to is this word, the grace of God. The word grace does not mean the forgiveness of God, which is what religious people say it is. You were bad and it's unforgivable, but pray for the grace of God. Like God's going to go, fine, I forgive you. I experienced the grace of God. No. The grace of God only means to remember that you don't need grace, meaning who you really are. Everything's about who we really are. So vows of poverty, technically, although that was part of a perverse devotionalism, it was hurtful. Vows of celibacy, it was hurtful because the vows against meant we were shaming it. Now, I understand for the devotionalism, for the early stages and foundational work we did, that was probably okay because it just showed us a little, okay, let's breathe and, find our boundaries. But after you've got the boundaries, man, let's launch. Now that you know who you are and some of your, weaknesses, they pull you a little this way. I don't care if the weakness is rage or addiction or whatever. You'll learn to see it because you have a relationship with yourself. See, not what religion tells me I am. I had to eventually discover who I am. How many religions tell you you're just a sinner? And the only reason you're on the planet is you're going to hell. You can try and beg God. Now, some religions are going to tell you good deeds is not enough. So even being perfect doesn't help. You're going to hell. So then what is this crapshoot? What is this thing where you go, yes, I believe in God. Really? What's God to you? A high-risk investment. I'm going to try to be a really good person, and just in case, I'm going to beg for forgiveness, because no matter how good I am, I'm still screwed up and I'm a sinner. And I'm hoping my email reaches God. And I'm one of those fan letters, that the celebrity God opens, because they don't open them all. We found a really heartwarming letter today from a sinner. And we decided, this is going to be one of those Oprah moments where we give everybody a car. Well, you're forgiven. Grace. It makes no sense. God did not create a universe of insanity like that. God did not create a plan that says it's absolutely impossible for you to get home. It makes no sense. Jesus tells the prodigal son story. He didn't say once upon a time there was a prodigal son. He left home and he's up creek and that's it. End of story. The prodigal son changes his mind and goes home. When? When he said, wow, what was I thinking? That's all. All we have to do is own that. What was I thinking? To be selfish, to be hurtful, whatever it happens to be. So we cannot go home by our own doing. We can't be good enough to get us home. If you think you're a sinner, there's not enough good you can do to fix that. You've already established an identity as a sinner. And if you're a sinner, you don't go to heaven. That's a fact. Why? Because sinfulness, sinful conscious, whatever you think that to be, can't coexist in the grace of God. So here's heaven, it's a frequency. And then there's this, unhealed wounds, triggers, garbage, abuse, addiction. That's a different vibe. It doesn't exist in this. So what we have is this, peace of God, consciousness of God, and then our resentment of that or our attempt to get to that. Some of us make up reincarnation, and eventually after enough lifetimes, I'll earn my way back. Others are hoping for a prayer of grace that's going to go through and get through God, to God through the emails, and that'll work. See, luck of the draw or whatever you believe in. None of our doings are going to get us there. It's only through accepting who we really are, which is, I'm a holy child of God. Yeah, but what about what you've done? No, I'm not asking you to go by your human memory. I'm talking about a divine memory. The divine remembrance is one that we've actually put on pause. Then we went and lived life on earth with all kinds of weird things. And all that's going to happen to all that, what's going to happen? All that at the end. They're going to tell you your life's going to flash before your eyes. And when you die, Judgment Day, you get to watch all the horrible things you've ever done. Wow. There's a screening I want to be sure I'm sitting in on. Just keep supplying the popcorn because this is going to be a long movie. So this thing, right? This whole concept of how we're going to get home. In this realm, we can't fix ourselves enough to get home. What's got to happen? There's this memory. It's called the Akashic Records, the book of life. That memory of all we've ever done. When we think we left God, all we did was push pause. Then we went in and we did all this. What's going to happen to all this? It's called left on the floor of the editor's room. None of this is going to be making the final cut. That's another way to put it. Now, some of us are like, well, how dare you? I want all my garbage on the final cut. Then your movie is going to keep bringing you back to earth. And that's your choice. You get to do that. Who in their right mind would choose that? This is like, wow, bliss of God. And then, can I keep 20% of darkness? What? You wouldn't want that. I want to have some poverty. I want to leave some people out of heaven. That doesn't work. Something is real or it isn't. How do I know if it's real? My discernment, that isn't going to help. If something isn't love, perfect, pure, and holy love, it isn't real. So it doesn't make the real. It ends up on the editor's floor, cutting floor, So cutting room floor, it's done. So what's nice about this is it's really about the word acceptance. Grace is just when I get out of the way and accept what God already created me to be. It isn't by my doing. But religions, again, good foundation. But religions have told people, you're not good enough, so you need celibacy. You're not good enough, so you should fast. Don't eat either. You know, because even though you think you're a holy child of God, food makes you an evil person. You know, especially if you don't eat what we think you should. Who's the we that decides what you should eat? You know, originally, remember just in my lifetime, it was 5 food groups. Well, I think that ended up on the cutting room floor. Now there's like, you can only eat sprouts. And you have to dry them and grind them and snort them. There's a specific way that you eat them that they're optimal, you know, or grind them into an oil and under your tongue. Like somebody's always got some brilliant thing to add. You know, and could you imagine Jesus Christ? Are you the Son of God? I am. Because that's what he said. I am. He's just kicking their butts with the I am statement. Are you holy? I am. Are you capable of healing? I am. Beautiful. Can you eat this? Oh, no. No. I would lose Christ consciousness completely if I ate that. Do you know that has MSGs in it? So that's not how consciousness works, but I know that's where people are for a while. Fine. We have to allow people their belief systems at this point. But there's a point in our evolution. We went through religion. We went through vows of everything. And it really didn't help us. But here's what's really interesting. We could have peace or we could have persecution. Peace is of God, persecution's of man. Even if you think the persecutions are related to God, they actually can't be. When we think we have to pay a little karma, even a little, that voice, that message is not coming from God. God cannot say, well, I'm a lot nicer than you thought I was. I actually only want 10% payments for your naughtiness. If you still think you're naughty, you're not in the consciousness of God. God is actually incapable of seeing the flaws that we judge ourselves and others for. So, peace or persecution? That'll be the title. Peace versus persecution. I just thought of that. So, peace versus persecution. Peace comes from accepting what we are and who we are. Persecution is every attempt to the contrary. Even if we justify persecutions as being, well, because the ego has told us, if you suffer, it's God's way of teaching you faith. God's like, no habla inglés, no comprende. I have nothing to do with these things you make up. And we're like, oh no, this is God. Mommy, why did Daddy die? Well, God's trying to teach us. No, it has nothing to do with God. So when you say, Mommy, why did Daddy lose his job? Just all the mom should say is, because we've created an insane world. It's us. It's us. The karma, the reincarnation, the suffering, that even life's tests. I wrote a book called The 7 Initiations on the Spiritual Path, subtitled Understanding the Purpose to Life's Tests. And I summarize it. What is the purpose to life's test? There is no purpose. Because in God, there's nothing to test. God's testing our faith. No, it isn't. Okay, hold it. No, beloveds, it really isn't. I have to change my tone. People might get upset if I get... It isn't. I swear to you, I fully believe and I fully know. God doesn't say, you probably need some testing to improve upon the perfection I created. It makes no sense. Yes, you're perfect, but there can't be that. We forgot who we are. So what's the purpose to life's test? Ultimately, there is no purpose. We're created divine, and all we're going to do is remember that we're divine. Done. But what is the purpose to life's test? While you think you're on earth, there is a purpose. It's called evolution. We think we're fallen. We think that we have failed. We think we have slipped from whatever, did naughty things. So technically, life's test is filled with awakenings. So the purpose to life's test, yes. In the illusion, it's growth. In reality, It's not like God's going, well, I'm glad you finally passed your test. Going home means, wow, that was really a weird dream. All the tests and all the improvements, I've got to eat better to be more holy. There's going to be, I was already holy. Humans, first of all, many don't believe in anything about purpose. They don't understand, they don't have any concept of wanting to go home. They forget about what God is. There's some sleeping humans. I'm talking about the ones that are waking up and the ironic and strange things that they do. The ones waking up. The ones waking up say, I used to be sleeping. Yeah. I used to be a sinner. But now I'm on the spiritual path. So I get it now. They don't get it. They're getting it, but they don't get it. Because you can still hear them saying, now that I'm on the path, I need to start cleansing my sins. I need to start forgiving, which is a good thing to do. I need to stop eating certain foods. And they're still doing. There is a point where we go, oh my God, this is so funny. I needed to be being. I was still doing. And is that wrong? No. Because it's all moving me forward. Fine. But what's nice is when you see the end of the story, it will shorten the amount of time you waste trying to fix yourself by eating all the right foods and doing all the right things. I got to be on my knees when I pray. No, wait, I got to stand. No, except if it's Tuesday. I got to lay back and stop and just, what if I'm not one with God? I'm not holy. Now whatever I eat could pull me off. What if I am holy? Humans haven't gotten to the point yet of being. And here's what happens. If I'm doing, I sit down and got to do some ceremony over my food because God knows it's evil and it's going to attack me. So I got to bless it and, white light it. And no offense. I mean, if you dig doing that, great. White light it and do it. That's great. Okay. Then I probably need to make sure they didn't put certain things in there that are bad and other things that are going to cause me to gain weight and other than whatever. Okay. So by the time you're done with all that, there'll be like one pea left and you go, and it'll take you home. If that works for you, all that doing, that's great. Here's another alternative. What if I am holy? I swear to you, if I am holy, you could put anything on that plate. So I'll use examples things that most disgust you, and cause you to judge me. But a thick red bloody steak. I've never had steak, but I hear about it. So there's this bloody steak. It's still even mooing or whatever. There's this thick bloody steak. Now listen to this. If I am holy, I swear to you, every cell of that thing will be turned holy when it makes contact with my being. Yeah. Try to wrap your mind around this. If I know who I am, something very holy is in and around my space. I, Michael, feel very holy at times. I feel not holier than thou. I feel very plugged in. And still, if you run over my foot with your car, ow, It's still, there's pains and hurts, but imagine each of us just for a moment going, what if I really am plugged in and very holy? Let's say you pull it off for 1 hour. I'm telling you, every particle of your being is dancing with delight. They're like, every particle, every cell is like, which is why in the book of Revelation, it talks about the elders on a hill, and all these beautiful symbolisms which sound creepy in some parts of Revelation. But there's these elders with crowns of glory. Those are my cranial nerves in my head that are saying, wow, Christ has come, which is your choice to be who you are. So they're all celebrating. And then it talks about the 144,000. Those are the parts of my being. It represents the 12 systems of my body, my bones, my lymphatic system. When it talks about the 144,000 celebrating the arrival of Christ, Revelation is me remembering who I am. And so all is being revealed. And so my cells are going, oh my God, we were asleep, but now we're awake. Every cell in my bones, in my glands, everything are going, wow. Now, you're told in Revelation that's going to happen, but you're still told about the parts in this world that don't want you to wake up. And in the book, it's called the Antichrist. And it comes to wage war. What do you think that's about? That's about the ego trying to keep me from this awakening. I was like, wow, and then there's this pummeling. And that's what this world tries to do. That's what the ego tries to do. And so, in contrast to that, I start waking up, my cells start saying, Hosanna in the highest, praise to God. God has come. God is here. Yes. And you feel it. Now, when you interact with a bowl of cereal or anything else, the cells, there's this symbiotic energy. There's this resonating. As I hold space in Christ consciousness, what I touch is blessed by my presence. So Jesus didn't perform miracles when he went, yeah, shoot, I did that one thing yesterday where I kind of helped a blind person. This guy's a leper. That's really hard. He didn't have any effort differences. He didn't go, this healing's probably easy. I can pull that off. Little neck adjustment. Okay. This person has cancer. No way. I can't. There was no difference. Jesus, although at moments, he's battling with the same voice we battle with. He's hearing the voice of the ego say, no, get tired of this world. But he still knows, no matter what, the weight of the world, I get it. He's feeling that at times. But for the most part, Jesus is able to say, when he's walking down any street, when he's doing whatever, he's feeling a state of joy. When he says, when you see me, you see the Father, if the Father is a divine feeling, what he's saying is, when you see me, you see joy. So it's not like, when you see me, you see the Father. You know, I'd like to be the Christ, but, you know, even my mother pressures me to turn water to wine. I can't just be me. You know, I just want to be myself. How come you don't see me, Mother, for what I want to be? And my siblings never liked me. You know, so that's not the energy. Believe it or not, we have these perversions of what really happened even in the life of Jesus. He could not have walked around the world like that, with that vibe. He's walking in the consciousness of God, which means Jesus was always very happy. But despite this world, he's sad and concerned that humans aren't choosing what he's choosing. But that's it. He doesn't stop believing and knowing what is there. So Jesus is walking down any street, whatever. He's talking about the good news of God. Hey, did you know? Guess what? You know this stuff you guys are, it's an illusion. Isn't that great news? No, we're going to kill you for telling us that. That's how happy we are about finding that out. You got anything else you want to share, Mr. Messiah? But just picture that. So when he's walking down the street and somebody goes, oh, I'm a leper. Oh, I'm quadriplegic. What he's doing is, I'm going to even look at you, think of you, let alone lay hands on you. And every cell is going to go, woo! Yes! And they will rise to dance, every cell. And when they do, you won't have any of what you called an illness. So he's bringing so much love presence to a person, they can't have anything that's not love presence. That's how a healing takes place. It's not fixing an illness. It's holding the awareness of the truth of God and then taking that light and shining it upon anything. And whatever else you're shining the light on, if it is God, it stands and celebrates the presence, the truth of God. If it isn't God, it's going to have to still stand up and rise. If it's not real, it disappears. If you're real, prove it. Hands laid on, prove it. Dance at this. Here's the music of God. You get it? And it'll dance. If it isn't of God, it disappears. So that's called a win-win scenario. Just imagine, instead of just petting a dog, your cat, imagine you're bringing God's presence to it. I mean, it changes things. You don't just drive your car. I know that we commonly think this way. And you don't need to just sing a song that's on the radio. If I sit down, this actually happened recently for me. If I sit down, drive a car, the car can change. You can change the frequency of the car because you brought a frequency to it. Go to a car to give you self-esteem because it's a cool enough car and you've missed the point. If you bring the presence of God everywhere you go, then everything's touched by it. Some people are not going to like it, granted. But you can bring God presence to anything. And all of a sudden it starts to change that thing. So you listen to a song. There's a certain artist, and Joni Mitchell. And, I've heard her a couple of songs and I thought, wow, I want to not listen to her ever again. Her rendition of a couple of songs. I thought the artist always seemed to do a better version than she originally did. But something happened the other day where I remembered a song of hers and I went, could that be Joni Mitchell? And then I went and looked it up. And I heard a couple of songs that were mind-bogglingly inspiring. And I went, that's the thing that people dig about her. I just hadn't heard it. So what I did was, instead of just hearing a song, I got into a different state and brought that different state to that person. Now, this girl, Joni Mitchell, she wrote a song whenever. She sings the song whenever. She retires whenever. I'm listening to something of hers years later and going, wow. Wherever she is, her soul is going to feel a wave of inspiration and gratitude that came from some guy she'd never met. You follow what I just said there? Even generations later, a song she wrote way back, doesn't matter. She was the artist who brought it through. Someone says thank you, her soul will go to another level. It's like it adds feathers to the wings to take her higher wherever she is. In this world or beyond, where, it doesn't matter. It could be 1,500 years from now. Our gratitude brings a difference. Our state of consciousness brings a difference to the food on your plate. Our consciousness brings gratitude to the poet over there, the musician over there, the builder, architect over there, whatever, or your parents. Our consciousness when we get in the right place. There are people that go sacred sites. Oh man, we're at a sacred site and we're going to be so much holier now that we visited. And this is what happened for me, taking people to sacred sites since the mid-'80s. Taking people to sacred sites. And immediately I had this thing going, there's something off. All these people around the world paying big dollars to go on voyages and whatever else to go visit sacred sites. And inside, I just kept hearing, there is no site that's more sacred than us. So I realized, we're bringing the light to these sites. I don't care what the site is. Stonehenge, the Great Pyramid. There's insanity in this world. And even those places have it. My first visit to Glastonbury. Oh, Glastonbury. Oh my God. I'm going to see Stonehenge. I'm going to see Glastonbury Abbey. Oh, wow. The place of Merlin's Cave and Land's End. Amazing. Oh my God, everybody was stoned. In Glastonbury, it's called High Street for a reason. For a reason. I'm like, wow. And I sat and talked, and they're just frying on acid, these kids. And we got there in the middle of the night, and hey, how's it going? All these people just hanging out in the streets, stoned, acid, I loved them, and I loved the conversations we could have. I know they were out of their mind stoned, but still, it was just like, how are you doing? And, and no matter how they were doing, they seemed to be doing fine. But I realized, and there's sacred sites we go to, you got to pay extra money to get somebody to sneak you in. It's all weird. But what I enjoyed was what we brought. I never felt like I got much from a site, from a rock, from a structure, from a sacred geometrical structure, a monolith, a megalith. They're beautiful, and there's energy, all that good stuff. I just know there's no holier thing than the Christ that created those things. We created them. How could they have become holier than us? That's like a great scene for a Monty Python movie right there. The makings of, when you start making something holier than yourself, that would be kind of twisted. I mean, if you had a child that went to school and came back and said, Mommy, we made a craft. Look, it's like a pinwheel or whatever they call it, some craft. And I'm going to put it in my room and pray to it every night because I think it's holier than I am. There's no way as a decent parent you'd go, that sounds sane. How can we created this? And there isn't something greater than you and I. We're the Christ behind all creation. We're holy. So what I'm saying is, you go to a sacred site, sure, breathe in the beautiful vibes and the intentions of many years in Buddhist temples that are, a couple thousand years old. Breathe in the beauty, but bring something. Well, what can I bring? Nothing, apparently, if that's your attitude. When you start to realize I am as God created me, I'm going to anchor the Christ light in this place. So when we do it, we make a circle in a place. We start, the first thing, your intention, your identity. Everybody concentrate, Christ presence, the I am presence, I am presence. Everybody got it? Good. Now let's download it to this needle spot in the earth, this grid spot, this vortex or whatever. Boom, into the earth. Once it infuses into the earth, it starts going down the ley lines, the grid lines, to the rest of the planet. Beautiful. Grid work. It's light work. I believe in that. You and I have to absolutely get to that place of remembrance. You can't bring good to the plate of food if you think the food has power over you. And I know that's where some people are at. I have no power. I get it. And that's a wounded person speaking. When we start remembering, there's a ramping up of peace and joy inside of us. Persecution or undeservability on our part. It's not just a word you go, well, I don't want to think about that. I'm telling you, if you're into spirituality, you've picked this up as a program. Persecution, we all did, somewhere. The flagellating, beating up oneself, the shaming oneself, that I'm a sinner, I'm going to hell. Or even simple things, the vows of everything, anti-everything. Persecution. There was even a movement, a very strong movement for now, it's been thousands of years, that says, if you suffer, it's good. Suffering is part of the spiritual path. Suffering is God testing you, suffering. And so people associate persecution with a way to pay for somehow pay to get you home. But if God doesn't want persecution, who made that up? It must have been the ego and not God. If it's not of God, why do we want to keep doing it? You deserve everything that God is. Not only if you're good. You already deserve it because of who you are. And we're going to more and more ramp this up. We're going to launch exponentially. We're going to take quantum leaps more towards that understanding. It's not my payment by not doing anything naughty, by not eating, by not drinking. It's not earned. Your oneness with God is not earned. It's accepted. Grace is not earned. It's accepted. Look it up though. It's going to say grace is something you have to earn. Who made that up? It's not God. So at the end of the day, it is never God that tests us. There is no love-based system in the history of the world that had a purpose that said, you have to earn something to get home. No love-based teaching ever said you have to earn your way to get home. No love-based teaching ever justified darkness in our lives. In any form, including limitation. So this stuff is just not of God. We're the ones who made this up. We're the ones who believe that the world can overwhelm us. And it does seem to overwhelm us. But I said seem. As far as God's concerned, nothing has power over us. So chill. But that's as far as God's concerned. Here's the problem. If I'm not completely in God's consciousness, I don't know how to do that. So then Jesus says, listen, guys. And this is also something Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita. But Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, and he says it in the Bible too, you're not going to be free of stuff in this world. So what is he being like pessimistic? What he's saying is, guys, don't take it too personally. In reality, you are one with God. And practice accepting that. Don't exclude others because they're also deserving. See, I won't have to practice forgiveness if I stop excluding other people from God's holiness. We're all holy. That's what Jesus is saying. He then adds, but there's this little hook there. You're all holy, but you don't remember that. So until the day you remember that, you're going to probably go through things that are tests. Don't blame God for the tests. Don't blame God. You lit the fire that looks like a firewall between you and God. You built the fire, you lit the fire. The fire will go out as soon as you're in the mood to let it go. Now, congratulations. I wish for the best. I'm going to be holding a vision of you already, the fire gone, and you back home. That's my vision of you as the Christ, as the Savior of the world. That's what a Savior would do. Guys, I already hold an image of you home. But I also respect you're not there yet. So I'm not only on the safe side going, you can do it, come on. I'm also on that side saying you can do it through every little test. In reality, there are no tests, but you're not in reality yet. Is that making sense? You're not there yet. Okay. So he says, so you're going to have the ego that's going to tell you. Yes, it's going to be the ego telling you. You know how you could get home? The ego doesn't want you going home. But what it's going to say is, here's how you get home. You got to be celibate. You got to do this, which already affirms you're not home. You see the trick? It looks like it's giving you advice on how to get home, but it starts off with you not being home. So it's telling you how to go in circles and get nowhere. If you just spend, guys, I'm going to tell it to you straight. This is the voice of the ego. It sounded like God. I'll tell it to you straight. If you could just live one life doing nothing wrong, nothing outside of love, you're going to be home. Really? I'll start now. Okay, I failed. Hold on. Wait, let me try again. See, you can't. It gave you an unattainable task, like some other, crazy hero journey, You can't do it. What you want to do instead is, I need do nothing. I'm already home. That's the fact. It's the truth of God. I'm already home. But while I'm still remembering or on the path to remembering, you know what my biggest job is? To forgive myself for everything I think is me not being home. That's it. I am, and I forgive what isn't. I am, and I forgive what isn't. So he's telling you guys, you're already home, but you're in this world and you wish there were no challenges. If the world was created from a mind that thought it was separate from God, how could it have created a perfect world? It created from a mind that said we're separate from God. So the world constantly reflects that you don't have God. You know what your job then is? Bring God in the world that you think is not of God. You're right, we should do that. My religion versus their religion. No, it's this person right here. I'll clean up my own side of the street. Let me walk the path of holiness the best I can. Stuff is still going to happen. You'll say, I can't believe it. I was a good mom. How could this happen? I was a good person. How could this happen? When you start questioning that intensely enough, you're actually leading yourself into the dark night of the soul. Because that's what the dark night is about. It's like when you've ramped up the victim enough, the dark victim of the soul. You're going to go into the, how could this possibly have happened? To me, I was the best employee. Why did they fire me? I was the best spiritual person. How did I get sick? I was the best, whatever. And I see a lot of people struggle with that. They forget. Jesus said, don't forget, your holiness cannot get sick, but you're not there yet, so you are going to get sick now and then. Well, not me, because I read A Course in Miracles, especially you, because you think you understood A Course in Miracles. You're still putting standards on everything. Forgive yourself. You're going to mess up because you're in a messed up world. You're going to stub a toe. You're going to get sick. I know you think you're going to ascend, but the odds are greater you're going to die of something. So when you do, if you have the moment to think about things and you're lying in a bed, having your last hours, while you're there, stop and say, wow, in reality, I'm whole and cannot be sick. But isn't this funny? I read every spiritual book and I still have an illness. Forgive yourself for it. That's all we need to be doing. Forgive yourself for anything that doesn't feel like the perfect holiness of God. I think it's beautiful. I think it's kind of simple, but not always easy. I myself have the same thing. Anybody, there's stuff that goes on, and yes, I feel clarity and immunity to lots of things, but I'm still in this world. And so I still go, how could that? Stuff, this world. And it could be big, big things. People that don't like me for some reason, most of them I've never met. That's kind of a bummer. I'm a human being, and I'm like, God, and I could sometimes go, dear Lord of the highest heavens, Archangel Michael and Gabriel, please extract all human feeling in me so that I don't feel so sensitive to other people's resentments towards me. But that's not my job. My job is to say, how do I forgive myself for believing in any such things? And show me how to forgive these people that dislike me or whatever it happens to be. Or if dislike ourselves. It's amazing. It could be the smallest things that can trigger us. Don't try to not be triggered. Forgive yourself for being triggered. Then all of a sudden, all the things you don't like happening to you in your life, you're using as actual food for your journey. You're actually using it as fuel to get home. You're turning every one of these odd things into a forgiveness that takes you home. What I want is the peace of God. Persecution is what I was sold. That I have to pay the price. I have to pay for my sins. I have to get home. I have to work it. I have to reincarnate it. I have to karma it. No, I get it now. I choose the easy way. Just remembrance. Divine Mother, show me who I am. Remind me who I am. That's my job. Oops, I forgot for a moment. Forgive. Follow? And the ghosts of the time we slip, those ghosts will try to haunt us. But ghosts will fade as long as they're not fed. They will fade. I was doing something just the other day, and it was like, practicing, mastery and whatever I was doing, pouring something, container paints or something like that. And, it was really interesting because I'm being, masterful and careful and still hand to steady pour. And then something happened. Like then it was almost like the person the bomb, the red wire, the blue. And I'm doing this very stealthy and masterful. And okay. And I'm like, yes. And just as I was like, yeah, I went, and my hand's pulling away and hits, this stuff spills and then my clothes. And I'm like, wow, all day long. I could just smell like turpentine. I'm like, because it was the ghost haunting me. You follow, of the thing that happened. Dang, so close to heaven, as it were. And yet I'm like, oh, there's that smell again. Just walking in a room and that go, wait, oh, that's me. And it doesn't go away easily. So the stuff, it's gonna haunt us. Your failures, your losses, your hurts, your selfish behaviors, your wounds. This world is going to try to haunt us. But why am I using the word haunt? Because there's no real substance. They're ghosts. So please consider that as we're closing now. Please consider that. Do you really want anything to haunt you and seemingly have power over you? Really? Really? Yeah, it's when we really know who we are, we're able to look back at this and go, what a bizarre dream that was. Yeah. Last night I decided I'm going to try to sleep for a couple of hours. And I laid down and I wasn't out for very long, and this very strange experience happened. The best I could describe it would be I saw a wheel, and it was almost like it was the sign of all the signs of the zodiac, which means this universe. Okay? I'm seeing this thing. And it's coming towards me, and it's going to devour me, which is this world. And that's how I felt the last week or so. There's things going on that I just felt like helpless and hopeless to a deep degree. So I see this thing coming to devour me. And I was like, all these thoughts and just horrible feeling of being overwhelmed and devoured. It was really dark. And this thing's coming toward me, and I'm like, this can't be happening. And here's this thing, and it's going to literally like just devour me. And I couldn't move, as often happens. You get paralyzed in a dream, you know. So I couldn't move, and all this was happening all at once, and I just yelled, which I think vocalized outside as well, which is probably why that end of Sedona went real quiet for several minutes. But I yelled like in terror and so on. Oh, you know, yelled, and then I just immediately, half in my body, half out, started repeating, in the name of Jesus Christ. You know, just boom. And I know Jesus Christ sounds traditional for some people. Trust me, it's good. This is your brother. Oh, we went full circle to sibling. This is your brother who remembers and speaks on your behalf. And I called for that thing. And what I noticed was there's the part of me that's going, why did I just have such a horrible, just days ago I had this amazing Holy Spirit experience and it was amazing. Wow. Why did this happen? What am I supposed to do when I think that?
Say yes.
Forgive yourself. And I went, wow. And I thought about it and I went, this is weird because as horrible and dark, probably darkest I've ever had an experience. And I said, I shouldn't be feeling this good. For a moment I thought, aren't I supposed to be like in the aftermath of that? And I'm like, no, you know what? I did exactly what we're supposed to do. You're going to have stuff. You have a job. Bring in the presence of God. Don't say, get me away, get me, save me. Call in the light when you're in the dark. And I did. And all I can tell you is despite the dark, I felt very light. And I said, let's go back to sleep. And then I said to myself, you must be crazy. If you go back to sleep, there could be more of that. And I said, I don't care. I feel so plugged in. I feel like I can do that. And didn't have any more of that. Just went into some very positive vibes. So a strange experience perhaps for you to hear, but I'm saying to you, whatever your version of that is, it has no real power. And I'm telling you, this felt like it had all kinds of devouring power. When I brought in the truth, then the lie can't exist. It does not have power, but it feels, I know it does. You see? I'm allowing that it feels like it does. I can't live if living is without my partner. That's how it feels. Is that the truth? I swear it's not the truth. You see, I'll never forgive. That's how you feel. Do you see the difference? Knowing versus feeling. And by feeling, I'm talking about opinions. I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. And that's my destiny. No matter who else, what else, no. Nothing can touch who we really are. Our Christ light is so perfect and holy, nothing can actually do anything to it. All the outside world can do is convince you that you're not this, and then make up a world to match it. Our job, forgive that and get back to square. Please take a few centering breaths. Yes. Today we're going to mix our meditation with a chant. Great affirmation, one we do quite often, the one we call the love chant. If you don't know it, it'll make sense very quickly. It's very simple. But to sort of this pace, love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, holy love. The guys I'm going to ask, holy, holy, holy. Together. Holy, holy, holy. Keep going. Holy, holy, holy. One more time. Holy, holy, love. You're holding space for the gals. Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love, holy Continue. Holy, holy, holy. Louder. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy love. Again. Keep going. Good job. Keep going. Guys, you're building the foundation. You're holding space so the gals can chant the truth of God. Keep going. Love, love, love. Feel it. From your heart. One more time to the universe. And just holding. This is an affirmation out to all parts of the world and universe. And what comes back, reverberating back to us, is the appreciation of the universe. That inside and out, we're affirming just the truth of God. Perfect love, only love. Love, holy love. Holding this affirmation. We need not pray for the world to stop harming us as much as consistently praying that our beliefs in the power of the world, the power that we thought and affirmed and lived as though it had over us, be replaced by the truth of God. The gospel, meaning the teachings of God, in one word, is love. Here are the words, I am the love of God. If other thoughts come in, don't be afraid of them. Don't deny them or stuff them. Just see them and ask yourself, is that true? I am the holy love of God. Other thoughts come in. You get to decide, and always have been able to decide. Are those other thoughts who you want to believe you are? Or can you just go, not today? I am as God created me, and I will to be the Christ on earth. But I am only as God created me to be, and nothing else, because there is nothing else. I am the love of God. Say to the world in your mind, how can I help? I am the peace of God. How can I help you today? I am the warmth of God. How can I be helpful to you today? I am the patience of God. How can I be helpful? And every so often you might hear a voice saying, this sounds very, big. It sounds very grandiose. I am the peace of God. No, we're told. It's only your ego that thinks you're not. So catch that and call it for what it is. I truly am. Are you the Son of God? They asked Jesus, and he said, I am. And we're being asked by this world, are you a holy child of God? I am. Feel that, hear that, integrate that. Just one more moment. I am as God created me. I will to be the Christ on earth. It didn't say, I want to be. I will to be. I choose to be. I am the Christ on earth. And so it is. Thank you all. Let's take a few centering breaths, please. Just take a moment to integrate. All right. Please stand for our closing affirmation. Pardon? Oh, did she? Yeah. Centering. state of gratitude. And thank you guys for your patience. We went a few extra minutes today, and thank you for, the patience for us doing something else this morning when we started, and there was a different kind of thing that we needed to cover towards siblings or whatever you want to call that, all right? I hope you each, those of you who it's relevant to, I hope you feel a healing and a shift. But please know you're playing a part. If they're in your family unit, you can upload to the family, even back in time to your ancestors, healing that they've called for, whether you know about it or not. Oh, gratitude. Gratitude to all races, all nations, all people throughout all time, all genders. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we go, God is. I am. We are. And so it is. Thank you. God bless. Before you leave, the bookstore is open. The grounds are available if you want to go and sit and chat and meditate, whatever you'd like to do. Join us online if you'd like, and hope to see you next week. God bless.